Welcome back to the Fighters Corner podcast for another episode. In today's epi, we recap the recent events in the UFC and MMA with the prodigal son of Costa Rica, Miguel Iturrate. The last UFC event was in Brazil, and the Brazilians got beat up pretty bad on that card. We discuss this amongst other things and drizzle in some odds for you at the end of the podcast. So sit back, grab a beer, and share the podcast. Unless you're driving, then share it later. That would be irresponsible.
I like to bet on the fights with my friends. Problem is, my friends are all broke, mostly because they bet against me. That's alright, I'm going to take my picks to BetDSI. With 20 years online, BetDSI has more deposit options than any other online sportsbook. They have fast, secure payouts, and when you use promo code Fighters Corner, one word, they're going to give you 100% sports cash bonus. Build a bigger bankroll quicker.
Also, please don't forget to subscribe, hit like, share, all because you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Radio Player, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, and the guy sitting next to you on the train is probably listening to us too. And if you can, show us your support by finding us on Patreon, where you can let us know how much you love us. And if you're a fan of boxing, jiu-jitsu, kumite, and even capoeira, go check out my guys at UCL MMA. These guys are the heavyweight champions of mixed martial arts shows. And if you think you're the next Johnny Lawrence, go to their website at uclmma.com, shoot them an email and tell them John sent you before asking their matchmaker that you want to defend your All-Valley Karate Championship versus one of their fighters. That's uclmma.com. I also want to thank our new Danish friends from Denmark, Malte Castro, who was kind enough to let us use his beats for this podcast. I've listened to his tracks, and this kid's pretty talented for being this young. If you like the track being played right now, go check out his music on Spotify, and you can also find Malte Castro on Instagram and Facebook. Go find this guy. It's pretty good music.
Fighters Corner podcast. My name is Mike Davis. With me, as always, John Goroski.
Hey.
On the phone is Miguel Iturrate from Costa Rica. And captaining this ship, is, as always, is Jonah Williams. So, Miguel, we're doing MMA, man. Let's give a little recap. What happened this weekend?
Well, this past Saturday, the UFC was in Brazil, and the headline fight resulted in some highlight reel material. There's the strawweight title fight on the ladies' side between Rose Namajunas and Jessica Andrade went down.
Now, okay, John, how many times have you, I, or Miguel said something, and then a week later or 2 weeks, even a month later, it kind of comes to fruition, and you're like, whoa, mm-hmm. Like you just pointed at left field, you called your shot, and then it came through, right?
Yeah, this happened.
It's a couple times. We're 13 episodes in.
A couple times is being generous.
Okay, we're talking about a half dozen times, about every other show.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, not being generous enough, I should say. But yeah, it's happened more than a couple times.
Okay, so it's something that we're doing consistently.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys are about to call me the Hank Aaron of MMA
Here we
right
go.
now. Oh, all-time home run leader. Forget Barry Bonds. Hank Aaron. I think there is a giant scandal happening with USADA Brazil. This is the third time I've mentioned there's issues there. And Andrade, when you look at her and her physique and her body, if that doesn't fail any type of eye test in regards to performance-enhancing drugs, which is being headed by the doctor, who I've said this multiple times, Anderson Silva's doctor, when he got popped for PEDs. Jessica Andrade, you know, I think that fight was very telling. I mean, it certainly appeared that she was on performance-enhancing drugs. However, it has not been proven. So we are going to keep that on the side for a future episode.
Bring it up later.
That's definitely getting brought up later. However, her performance was masterful.
Yeah.
In that fight. Would you not agree?
Yeah, I thought Rose was doing a good job up until the point where it was over. Rose held her own. She's tough, man. Rose, one of the toughest females in UFC today.
But Miguel, would you also consider her I'm using air quotes here, a thinker when in the cage?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the bottom line is I think, the slam that occurred was the second time she got picked up in slams. And both times you could actually see the wheels turning there. And, she decided to attack the arm rather than, show up or protect her head a little bit. She was working for her arm lock at the same time. And that's a conscious decision. That's a fighter intelligently making decisions in the ring. Maybe it's not the most intelligent decision, but there's thinking and the thinking process is going on. Rose, I think she was managing the fight just fine. And I think that, everything you said about Andrade, it's going to warrant looking at in the future, as you said. One caveat I will add to that is that, again, is the idea that, USADA sucks, so we'll just get somebody better. That doesn't exist. There is not anyone better.
There isn't anybody else.
It's always going to be this same mummery. This is a complete and total system and bureaucracy invented to protect, because the bottom line is this, is Andrade and every other fighter out there could have a doctor or could have a prescription or be taking something that right now is not on the USADA list. And it might be there in 2 years, but they are so far behind that they don't know what's out there. And that may be, there's several guys, 35 years old, Junior Dos Santos, there's several guys that have popped up with resurgent performances. And you do kind of got to think about it. And are the doctors ahead in Brazil with producing a new drug that's not on the list yet? That may be the case. It may turn out to be the case. And if not, it still certainly is a hole in the system, because the bottom line is until they make the drug illegal, it's not on the USADA list.
Right.
So Jessica Andrade could very well be, at the top of the game nutrition-wise and not be breaking the law.
Well, you also got to look at it this way. The Brazilian fighters, who are very talented, I mean, there's one of the most talent-rich countries in the entire world, for combat sports, absolutely is Brazil. Okay?
Not just combat sports. I mean, look at their soccer program.
Soccer. Okay, yeah, sports in general. Okay. So, essentially, you've got a bunch of athletes making American money, but are spending it in their home country, where there's a vast difference in regards to there's a big economic difference between the two. And for anybody to sit here and say, "Oh, okay, they just don't have the best scientists in the world." Believe me, the scientists in Brazil are just as good as the scientists here, except they're a little cheaper based on the conversion rate.
Yeah.
So in essence,
your dollar stretches further with Brazilian doctors. Yeah, I could see it.
So I mean, in essence, is what they're doing illegal right now? No, but there's something going on there. You're not going to tell me that designer steroids are not happening in Brazil.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a Brazilian doctor that does it. It could be Brazilian fighters hooking up with
an American doctor or a Canadian doctor.
There you go.
John
Jones's guy.
Yeah. So no, I agree. But that was a rough crowd, though. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, they were
pissed. Not a lot of Brazilians were winning that night.
Brazil they took it on the chin that night.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of legends went down hard too. Aldo basically to me was a no-show. Anderson Silva, going down with even heading into this fight, he's old and everything like that, but you could still say, I mean, he had the disgusting injury with Weidman, where he broke his leg and stuff like that. But despite that, you could still say at 44 that he had kept his body in pretty good shape and that he hadn't suffered a lot of injuries aside from that catastrophic one. And, I don't know how bad this one is, but it certainly, it ended the fight. It looked bad. And this, hopefully, it makes the UFC recognize that there's some volatility there and that they don't sign him or continue to bring him back.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's the last time we see Anderson Silva. And I mean, in the good way, for his legacy as well.
I don't think there's a bigger Anderson Silva fan on the face of this planet than me. I mean, I loved him ever since he KO'd Chris Liebman. And I'm a fan of Chris Liebman too, but I've watched him during the prime of his career in the UFC, and I loved I used to have events at my house based
Just
on
for him.
just for
Yeah.
Anderson Silva.
Yeah.
Watching him go down,
It hurt.
it hurt.
Yeah,
it really
hurt.
did. And when he was getting up, I'm like, please let this be the last time you fight in the UFC.
Yeah, and when it's for us too,
Yeah,
it's just
no,
come on, let's keep your memory alive.
Yeah.
Like Muhammad Ali's last few fights are brutal.
Yeah.
And watch them; they're
these
brutal.
guys, when they go through their tear in their career, they're going to think they're invincible forever.
Well, it's a high, and when you get in front of that crowd and you get that adrenaline going, it's legitimately a high. Like when they talk about heroin or crystal meth or any kind of crazy drug that you can imagine, whatever dump that's happening in a person's body, I have to assume it is similar to knocking a guy out in front of 20,000 people while they chant your name.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, whatever it is that endorphin, your endorphin dump is, it's got to mimic it. And, another legend loss that was real sad was, what we called was BJ Penn.
Mm-hmm. That was tough.
Yeah.
It was tough. It looked like he was good for about a round and a half. And then after that...
Even in his prime, he was only good for a round and a half.
Yeah, but that round and a half was something that
a tornado.
Yeah, it was, and
you look at his record, and it's ugly.
Yeah,
it's like 18-13 or something like that.
Yeah.
But you're talking about a guy. All right, here. I already know the answer to this question. I'm going to volley it to Miguel because this is how Miguel and I are connected. Miguel, what is the biggest prerequisite in order to be considered a greatest of all time champion when you're not a heavyweight, when you're somebody that's underneath the heavyweight? If you had to have like one precursor that is automatic you have to have in order to be in a discussion, what would you say it would be?
Longevity. Consistency and longevity.
What about titles? Multiple weight classes?
Yeah, titles are important, but, if you're talking about a generalized set of rules, and the UFC has sort of started with interim titles and things like that, and it won't be long before we see a British title or a European title or a South American title from them. And so I don't credit a lot of belts, and boxing is a perfect example of why belts can actually ruin the situation.
All right, well, I'm going to counter you. I believe in order to be considered in the conversation of greatest of all time, or, at least being mentioned in it, and I'm not saying BJ is, you have to have multiple titles in different weight classes. Like, you got to have like a 55-pound belt and a 70-pound belt. If you've done both of those things in your career,
it helps, but
that's not help. You're in the conversation.
Okay.
I'm not saying you are, but you're in the conversation.
Okay, so, but like guys that are in the heavyweight division who can't move down.
Then you got to get numbers. And I'm going to tell you what, with Stipe being like the longest reigning champion in terms of defenses, we haven't experienced an amazing heavyweight champion yet in the UFC.
Fedor.
Yeah, that's why I said it. That's why I said American.
Edit this video, except for the UFC. There you go. Now we're in. See that? You cut me off. So, I mean, you have to have that. Like, you have to have more than one title in a different weight class, and you got to go up.
It's going to help significantly.
See, it helps in some cases, but it is, for example, the fact is BJ Penn is maybe closing in on a 500 record, so does it artificially boost his case? Because did George St. Pierre really do himself that huge a favor coming in at middleweight?
I got to counter on this
did
one.
he come in? Did George St. Pierre didn't do himself that huge a favor coming in to beat Michael Bisping to add another title, or did he stay just about where he was?
No.
Guy.
GSP solidified himself on the Mount Rushmore that night. Now you can sit here and go, "Oh, it was Michael Bisping. It was Michael Bisping." Okay, but Michael Bisping had the title, and he beat the legitimate champion.
He wasn't given the title.
No. So
no, I understand that, but I disagree completely. I think
let me counter.
Well, before that, he did not solidify anything. He was already solid.
He put himself in the conversation for GOAT.
Who?
When he beat Michael Bisping.
He already, that's my point. He already was before that.
Okay,
yeah.
so
he
he's the greatest of all time. How about that? The good goat.
He's the goat.
I'm the super goat.
Super
But that's part of the conversation. Like when we're sitting here arguing, like we got a pool of guys to pick from. You can say he didn't even need it. That's. I mean, you're only like telling me I'm correct.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you another thing about like how to counter your BJ Penn 500 record. Years from now, the dork MMA guys, which I think the four of us fall into that category, are going to go, no, but you really can't look at BJ's later career. You got to look at his peak. That's just kind of a way of like cheating the argument.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
well, I think that's why you want him to stop fighting, because it's going to sort of go against it.
And you know what, man? He's from a wealthy background.
Yeah.
Like he didn't even need to fight.
No.
Like I think his parents are multiple hotel owners in Hawaii. And, if you know anything about Hawaii and hotel prices, I mean, it's the place where Airbnb has not made a dent in anything.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, any other highlights from that card?
Actually, you know what? I do got something. I got something
Wait,
before
Jose Aldo lost?
Wait, I got something for you. We talked briefly in the past couple podcasts about who we think is deserving in Hall of Fame. We've mentioned BJ Penn. We've mentioned Clay Guida. You mentioned Clay Guida, which I have a hard time agreeing with. There's also...
Whoa. Clay Guida is my argument for fighters that never won a title that deserve to be in there.
I got another one for you, too, who actually fought on that same card as well.
Go ahead.
Thiago Alves. He's been fighting since UFC 55, 56.
I think if you've got 10 years in the UFC, you're automatically there. I don't care if you're a gatekeeper or not.
He took a long hiatus. He took a long hiatus, and he's been up and down. I mean, BJ with his title reign and even the way he gave it up to Frankie Edgar and stuff, that is all high level shit. Alves never really cut his teeth at that level. He got a couple
championship bouts, but he never won the title. But he got there. I think he fought against BJ, or he fought against.
He's about Thiago
Alves.
Yeah, he fought against George St. Pierre too, but for the title, didn't get it. But still, I mean, like, look at his longevity in the UFC over the past 10 years.
I think if you got
14 years, I think he started in 2005.
You got over 10 years in the UFC, you're a Hall of Famer.
Yeah,
I don't care what your record looks like.
Yeah, I mean, it's because that's tough to do.
There are going to be full years where he didn't fight in the UFC in that time, but
he didn't fight anywhere else either, though. I don't think he did.
How does that help his case?
Well, it could have been a surgery.
Yeah, it could have been just taking time off. I mean, look at George St. Pierre. He took 4 years off between his last fight in the UFC, which was against the welterweight that he beat in Vegas. Then he came back and fought Michael Bisping 4 years later, almost to the day. So, I mean, did that have a dent into the argument, too, or not?
You better look that up.
John Hendricks, I think he fought in 2000.
You're talking about different level fighters. You're talking about Thiago Alves, a marginal choice for the Hall of Fame. I don't think he'll make it, but if you want to nominate him in there, and you want to nominate St. Pierre or even BJ Penn on the same card,
I'll settle this argument.
Is going to be sitting on the odd end out. There's no doubt about that. I like Alves. I've signed Alves to 10 fights probably in his career.
Yeah, and not only that, local guy Derek Noble, I think, has got to win over him, and then Derek Noble's UFC. He got called up last minute, and Thiago obviously he had Thiago knocked out, and kind of got a little overzealous, and got caught rushing in. All right, so I can settle this argument with Thiago Alves. Thiago Alves would not have a bronze bust in the Hall of Fame, but he would have a cast of his hand in the UFC. Remember that? Like the display where they just kind of do like a plaster cast of your hand? Yeah. I mean, it's actually pretty cool. Yeah, you're in the Hall of Fame, but yeah, that's not like really a picture.
That's how Andrew Galata got in the Boxing Hall of Fame.
Thank you. It's kind of like, yeah, you're here, but it's more of like a little knick-knack that the kids can play with.
It's been a wide-ranging podcast. I just want to drop a quick line for you guys, maybe for a future podcast. But look up Snack, SNAC, and Victor Conti, CONT.
Dude, I read the book, the Balco book. Yeah.
Okay, but look up what Snack is. Snack is his new clinic where who better for you to go to make sure that you're going to be completely clean than this guy who knows who knows the tests inside and out. And legitimately, the guy's a genius and a scientist as well. So, for example,
he's not
like
a scientist.
high-altitude testing and stuff, he's created a room with pressure and a machine where you don't have to go to 5,000 feet in the mountains and leave your house. You can just drive to the gym, and if they have a room like this, which he does in his facility out in California, then you could be practicing at like 6,000 feet, and then they could drop the oxygen to 8,000 feet, and they manage all that stuff now. Is that an enhancement? How is that work in and things like that? Because that's not putting something in your body, but that's scientifically taking advantage of all the options, right? And that's what guys like Victor Conte, that's what proves that guys like Victor Conte are ahead of Veda and all those people. Come on.
It also tells you that Victor Conte is worth every single penny that you have to pay him. Mm-hmm. But you got to look at the CRISPR method. It's essentially like DNA editing, and if you don't think that's happening in China right now, where there's like half wolf children running around, I mean, they're not real big, but they're half wolf children. It's absolutely going on, So what's going to happen with a CRISPR method, 15 years from now, when those kids start going, I kind of want to compete in combat sports, I can breathe underwater, what's your special skill? All right, Miguel, what else do we got, man?
Bellator.
Well, let's hit Bellator 221. We had Bellator with a couple of homegrown title fights. You had Chandler and Flair, and you had Page and Lima, and you had two big knockouts. Yeah,
so I was actually there live. I got really good seats. I was actually right behind Ben Askren.
Okay.
Yeah.
Funky Ben Askren.
Yeah, dude, he's taking pictures. You know what was crazy? The Chicago Bears were there. You had the Monster Energy guy there. 50 Cent was there. You got all these people. Then you got like a former champion that's like a stud in the UFC that got screwed over by Bellator. The guy was like in the third row. Just like where the lights got dark. Like where you couldn't see him. That's where he was. Like he was strategically placed where, like, if you saw him, it was because you were in a section.
Yeah.
Hey, do you know who was on the card, Miguel? Antonio McKee's kid. He beat Pat Curran. Yeah, he beat Pat Curran.
I saw that they've been bringing him on. They like that because now what I'm saying, Bellator is Bellator, right? So this is easy. They're going to match McKee's kid against Kimbo's kid down the line. Wow,
that's so awful. Yeah, you're mad.
You're right. You're probably right.
You're totally right.
You're probably right.
Miguel, are you matchmaking? So on top of that, like now that Ben Askren's fought in UFC, like I've kind of got like a running list in my head. God, I sometimes I get real Star Warsy, and like there's like topics that I think about that I would never dare share with anybody else because they're so friggin' out there. And one of which is best fighters never to fight in the UFC. So Askren retired, and he took the number one spot.
Yeah,
because he never fought in the UFC, until he fought Robbie Lawler,
right.
Obviously. The number one guy is Antonio McKee. That's never fought in the UFC.
Overall, in the history of combat sports?
He's yeah.
Or right now?
Well, I mean, he's retired. Anyone that had a monster record that should have been, that guy should have been in the UFC. I mean, he got an ugly record towards the end, but at some point, he was on a 25 fight win streak, something crazy like that.
Yeah, he fought in his 40s. He was a freakish wrestler that got kind of earmarked as being kind of like non-crowd friendly because he really was a control guy, and that's why the UFC never had him. He just kind of didn't fit the bill of the style. And again, you're asking philosophical questions, so Ruben Sato never fought in the UFC, and Ruben Sato would, probably finish McKee in about a minute and a half.
Yeah, but Ruben he fought in Pride. I'm kind of grouping those two together.
No, he just fought in Shudo. No, he's just fought in Shudo. He also went south once he got older. If you look at his fights and stuff, he'd been knocked out.
Yeah, see? Well,
and he fought way slower. But, if you're talking about when guys are in their prime, Vitor Shaolin Ribeiro never fought in UFC.
Yeah,
so I mean, it's you can really dig deep. And there are guys that maybe didn't complete their careers and stuff, but the best fighter who never fought in UFC That's a long list. McKee, record-wise, deserves a mention for sure, but I think the
100%.
boring thing is going to be held against him.
Wait a minute. We're not talking about exciting, Miguel. We're just talking record-based fighters that got passed over and rank them. I mean, I'm not sitting here. The argument was made why they never even went to the UFC. I mean, that's as plain as day. Like, as boring as Jake Shields was, McKee was Jake Shields, but more boring. And I like Jake Shields. Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's watching paint dry. It's the old adage. So, like, I mean, the conversation isn't why didn't they make it. It's as plain as day as why didn't they make it. It was just guys that didn't make it for various reasons. Does that make sense to you, Miguel?
Yes, no, I agree. But I think the board, it depends, because I think that the boring thing does have a place. I think that there are other guys who've been passed, maybe not as good as McKee, but there are other guys who've been passed over for that reason. Maybe other guys have been passed over for a look test or a body test. You look a little fat, or you don't have the body type or whatever. So you kind of don't know that whole process there. McKee would, he, like I said, he competed when he was older, and. I think right there you could draw the line. If you beat McKee, you could come to the UFC, but McKee was never going to make it. I guess that's the way Silva saw it.
Absolutely, but he beat guys that went to the UFC after he beat them. I mean, they had to fight a couple more times, but in essence, his son is a counterpuncher. And he fought Pat Coran, and it was kind of a boring fight. I shouldn't say kind of. It was absolutely a boring fight. And in the third round, honestly, Pat Coran should have just thrown caution to the wind. Like, he should have just went in there and just said, hey, man, I'm down 2 rounds. I got some cuts on the top of my head from some elbows. But at the end of the day, like, he should have, at that point, like, your corner's just got to go, well, dude, you're down 2 rounds, man. Yeah. Like, what you're doing isn't working. You're going to have to start. You're going to have to lead punch rather than try to counterpunch a counterpuncher that's running backwards. Like, it wasn't a good matchup. However, I will say that the kid's fantastic on the mic. Mm-hmm. He's got charisma. Mm-hmm. And he's got a very bright future. Whether you like his, the guy does hit hard and he's got some finishes. I think he's going to have to, at these upper levels of fighting, he's going to have to find his finish. But that kid's a star. He's one of those guys where, when Bellator kind of comes to town, they pull a bunch of local guys on the card that can sell tickets. So he's only fought on Bellator, and he's got 14 fights. He's got the longest winning streak in Bellator right now. So, which brings up another Bellator question.
The problem with me with Bellator is that those guys are like, few and far between. You don't have the development saying, who is Mickey going to fight? Who's in his weight class? How many of these guys do they have up? Because, if the UFC needs to, you look at, 145, they throw Peter Yan at you, there's 30 guys from all over the world, and anybody can be matched up with that. McKee, 14-0, they've been bringing him along, putting him in against local guys, putting him in against guys that aren't his level, and he hasn't really been tested. So we'll see. Does he have charisma? Is the fact that he's a second-generation fighter a good story?
Yeah.
They should run with that. Like I said, they don't do enough of that stuff. What was nice about the 2 title fights this weekend was that they were homegrown fighters. These were their guys and guys that had no UFC on their record, but you could consider them definitely UFC-level fights.
100%. And Chandler, so Chandler, what he's been doing is he's been like getting into this talk guru, Zig Ziglar, who when I was first told about him, I thought the guy did porn. Like, it was just one of those names where I'm like, huh? Who? When? Where? And the way Chandler handled that loss was spectacular. Like, it hurt him. It crushed him. But he handled it like a professional. And, and Chandler, he's one of those guys where, you can kind of take him or leave him. I personally think he's great. I think he's a phenomenal athlete. He's certainly somebody that could, make a decent run, in other organizations. But I'm telling you, I think McKee is special. It's just he might have to get away from his father for a little bit and go train elsewhere, just to kind of mix things up, see different systems and stuff like that.
Test it a little bit differently.
Yeah. But no, he's going to be something special, in my opinion.
That's good.
Yeah.
Sport needs it.
I thought it was an early stoppage on Chandler. I mean, that's a guy that has taken tons and tons of abuse. Before the referee stepped in, Rob Madrigal, there was no verbal commands. There was no dialogue. When you watched him and say, touch gloves, he gave like a really socially awkward, there you go. Like he was, you can tell the bright lights were affecting him.
Affecting
the referee. Watch the glove touch, because when it happened, I say to the guy next to me, hey, friend who just happened to buy the ticket off StubHub like me that got here, did you see how awkward the referee was on the on that glove touch? And he goes, yeah, that was kind of weird, wasn't it? 30 seconds later, he's diving in between two dudes that just took a heavy punch, got dropped, was on his way up, and he's sliding in between them. Now, listen, Chandler got dropped. It's a guy, when you're reffing at that level, you know who's in front of you. Like, you're studying tape as well.
Yeah.
I mean, and if you're not studying tape, you're not doing main event. Right?
Yeah.
You're not main event.
Right.
Okay. So Chandler has been dropped numerous times, weathered adversity, and was getting up. You have to give verbal commands in a title fight.
especially.
In a title fight.
Oh, man.
Any comment, John?
I'll sit this one out.
Oh, wow. Interesting. I wonder why. Interesting. So, well, I think we'll talk about that at a later podcast sometime.
Yeah. Make sure you have a couple hours.
I think I can probably pull it out of you. So, anyway, Miguel, anything else MMA-wise?
Well, if you want to look forward to next week, we've got the UFC back stateside, and they are leading off with Rafael dos Anjos taking on Kevin Lee in the main event spot. So they're coming to us from Rochester, New York next Saturday.
Kevin Lee needs a bounce back.
Yeah.
He really does. Like that guy is like a special fighter, but he's like a tweener.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he kills himself to make weight. And if there was like an in-between weight, that guy might be having a strap around his waist. I think that weight cut is killing him.
We've had discussions off the mic about the UFC just restructuring other weight classes.
Just go by 10 pounds, man.
That's it.
Yeah, don't go by boxing. Don't go, hey, well, it's 4.7 pounds heavier.
No.
Another belt.
Nope.
No. Just go every 10 pounds, man.
90, 80, 70,
25, 35, 45, 55, 65, 75, 85, 85. Yeah.
10-pound increments.
That's
there
it.
you go.
Yep, all the way through. Miguel, what's your opinion on that fight?
What?
What's your opinion on that fight?
Kevin Lee, this one is at welterweight, so he's fighting up a weight class.
Okay.
From where we're used to seeing him, and that should help a little bit. He's fighting Dos Anjos, who's a former lightweight champion, who also made the move up. Dos Anjos is pretty, solid at 170 as well.
It's a tough fight for a bounce
at
back.
the end of the so we'll see how it goes for both of them. Dos Anjos get him a little bit longer in the tooth, but still, he's a tough out for everybody.
Yeah.
So, people are looking for Kevin Lee comeback. This fight, he may have a little bit of a longer.
And they also announced Cowboy Cerrone versus Tony Ferguson.
I'll be looking forward to that one.
For here in Chicago. You know what? The UFC, I'm a fan. They take a dump on this city every single time they put a card here.
Yeah, it hasn't been good.
Awful.
It hasn't been good.
Well, here we go. Now, they're going to figure this out. I'm pointing towards the left field wall now, okay? All they have to do is put a Bulgarian and 3 Polish fighters on, and don't even have a different rest of the card. Don't put a single fight on.
Really? Not even the Hispanics?
No.
Okay.
You put 4 fights. It'll be the quickest UFC in its history. You'll have 3 Polish fighters and 1 Bulgarian, and that's it. And they'll sell out the Allstate Arena. Mm-hmm. See, boxing here, and I know we're talking MMA, but boxing here in Chicago is carried by the Polish community.
Yeah.
So essentially, you've got like Polish immigrants that were like from, I don't know, New Jersey, I'm in Florida, I'm in Texas. If they start picking up boxing and they turn pro, they will move to Chicago because the fan base for Polish athletes is so large
Yeah,
here
I've noticed that.
that they make monster paydays. Like they'll make better paydays than an entry-level UFC fighter, and they're fighting on a local card, and they're just doing ticket sales.
Yeah.
It's like you'll get at a local small boxing event here in Chicago, you'll get almost 4,000 Polish people at it. And you bring the UFC in with a couple Polish guys, whew, man. And I think there's one. I think there's one on the Chicago card. I have sent messages and talked with Mark Ratner about this. And he goes, yeah, I'll pass along. Hey, man, it is what it is.
Yeah.
You know, what do I know?
Right.
Yeah, so I'm actually pretty excited. I might go. Just for that one fight alone.
Yeah, that fight might be worth the card.
It's worth saying 20 years from now going, I was there.
Yeah.
You know?
You think Cowboy's in a tough spot with this bout?
I think we're seeing a resurgence of Cowboy Cerrone.
Yeah, but I mean,
as we've said. Do I think he's in a tough spot? Dude, Tony Ferguson's a nightmare.
Right, but I mean, look at the time off Tony Ferguson has had compared to what Cerrone's had. Cerrone fought, 2 weeks ago? Now he's got to fight again in 6? Not even 4 weeks. So like I don't like that Cerrone is just coming off of a fight. And I don't care that he's healthy. I mean, because training camp is training camp. All right, there's weight cuts. There's all this stuff with training camp going on. And Ferguson was sitting on the bench for how long? Almost a year now.
Yeah, he had some domestic issues.
Well, let me.
Yeah, I mean, he did fight. It just wasn't with a guy.
Oh man!
And he was married to them.
The thing with Cerrone is he's done this a lot in his career, right? So he's a guy who probably could have handled, or would have recommended more than 2 fights a year anyway, right? But the point is he's kind of a fish product. I'll give you a good example from Japan. Remember Genki Sudo, who was in the UFC and he used to do like back up into his opponent and stuff, but he was a hell of a fucking fighter. You remember Genki Sudo?
Of course. The controversial stand-up rule with, it was Bang Ludwig. They changed an entire rule of the UFC based on that fight. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, this dude, he was quirky, but you can tell, obviously, when he came into the UFC, he was already a very advanced fighter.
He was awesome.
And at the end of his career, when they were asking him about training and stuff like that, he did an interview. This was one of the most amazing answers I've ever seen because I think it's true. The guy said, they asked him, talk about your training. He's like, at this point, I train about 40 minutes a week. It's not that it's like what he's talking about is the learning, the the mindset, the things like that, because it's already programmed and he already knows this stuff.
Yeah.
Cerrone is going to be fine making a fight on short notice. So I wouldn't hold that against him, especially that he didn't get banged up. It is a good sign. And Ferguson, to me, still has a couple of open questions. In his last fight, he did get up and win the fight, but he did get dropped. And I hate when people get dropped and get up because that could always turn into you didn't get up the next time, right? Then there's a couple of the mental health issues. When you tie that back to the fact is he had knee surgeries that he didn't do rehab the normal rehab way. He did his own thing, and he was back in like 4 months. So he's done a few things that leave me questions. I want to see him.
All right, now you've said a lot right there. So
sorry.
No. I mean, I've got more.
Editor.
And we got to wrap this up.
Mike's head's about to explode right now.
Okay. So you said a few things. One, you said short notice. Okay. I don't consider 6 weeks short notice. Short notice is 2 weeks and under. Okay. I get it. Is it an ideal training camp? No. But if you're a professional athlete and you're not 3 weeks away from being in fight shape, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
So I just watched it was like a video on YouTube, and it was like best short notice fights. This one was 6 weeks. This one was 8 weeks. Dude, 8 weeks and 6 weeks isn't short notice. That's a training camp. No, that's a training camp, bro. You just got to start now, Mm-hmm. That's not short notice. It's not. No, I don't consider 6 weeks short notice. You were talking mental health. Have you watched Tony Ferguson post-fight press conference when he fought Nate Diaz. Not Nate Diaz, when he fought, what's his name, Pettis. Did you watch that, Miguel?
Yeah.
Okay. It was a clown car. Okay. And he was the dude squeezing the bike horn. Okay. And it was as if he just gets out of the shower and he's naked in front of a mirror and he just starts answering questions that no one's asked him.
Yeah.
And he just keeps going on and on and on. It was 2:00 in the morning, and I called John up, and I said,
"Are you watching this?"
And John goes, "Dude, what? Did someone die? Who? Was it Jonah? Was it Trevor?" I'm like, no, dude. They may have, but I don't know. That's not why I'm calling. You got to watch this Tony Ferguson post-fight. He's like, dude, I'm laying next to my wife. I'm sleeping. I go, dude, just turn it on. He hangs up. He calls me a name. He hangs up. And then like 5 minutes later, he's like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. He's like, this is incredible. Thank you for waking me up. Dude, it's the worst. And dude, you got to watch it. Okay. When Andrew Dice...
Yeah, it reminds me of the Geraldo Rivera interview with Charles Manson.
No. I got to tell you what this was. All right.
Yeah.
Do you remember when Andrew Dice Clay was at like the peak of his career, when he was doing his nursery around, selling out stadiums? Well, Dice says to himself, hey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go up on New Year's at some chuckle hut in New York with 5 people in the audience, and I am going to go there completely unprepared, and I am going to talk for the next 3.5 hours until I empty this place with no punchlines, very little jokes. And once everyone's screaming at me and leaving the the venue, which is at 2 a.m., I'm then going to release it on CD so everyone else can hear it. Mm-hmm. It's one of the most genius things ever in hindsight.
Yeah.
But at that moment, you're just like, this is Dice. I thought he did more rhymes.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't, any punchlines, calling women derogatory names. This isn't the Dice I knew.
Yeah.
Tony Ferguson at that post-fight press conference, a proper descriptor has escaped me. I am telling you, watch it.
Yeah.
All right. Any odds coming up, Miguel? We got to wrap this up, buddy. Any MMA odds?
Yeah, we got with Kevin Lee and Rafael Dos Anjos up to bat in the main event this weekend. It's a 5-rounder, and it's pretty much a pick and fight. Right now, I got Lee at -115 and Dos Anjos at -105. So you're laying money either way.
You know what? I'm going Kevin Lee. First off, I would go to betdsi.eu.
Or .com. .com is
it
okay too.
.com too?
And both will take.
They got the .com back?
Yep.
The government gave it back? I know they took it
Either
for a while.
one will work.
And then I would put in a promo called Fighters Corner, which I think that would double your entry, John?
Yep. It'll double it on your. It'll double your cash on your first bet. So
right away?
Right away.
No.
It's free money.
So you're going to give me free money to go bet on Kevin Lee and an almost even bet?
Yep.
Jonah,
No
make
brainer.
that happen. Jonah, use your credit card.
Use your credit card.
I got you.
On Monday, he won't answer the phone, though.
Yeah. Well, it depends on who wins. So, any other odds, Miguel, or is that it?
In the co-feature, we got more welters. You got Vincent Luque and Neil Magny. Luque coming in a big favorite there, -450. Magny at +360 on the comeback.
That's actually a pretty good bet. That's actually pretty good. Honestly, yeah. Magny, he is a cardio machine, and as long as he can get past that first round, which is an ugly first round, he breaks you, dude.
Was he in the local scene over here?
Yeah, he fought for me a couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he breaks you. Like his cardio, you can't sleep on Neil Magny. That's one of the bets I'd throw $100 at.
Yeah.
Just to do it. Okay.
And you got bantamweight ladies, Aspen Ladd favored at -320, taking on Sajara Eubanks. Eubanks at +260. And closing out the main card, you got a middleweight fight, Antonio Carlos Jr. -220 over Ian Heinich. Heinich at +180. And then you have veteran Charles the Bronx Oliveira at -360 as he faces Nick Lentz, another veteran, so minus 360, Lentz at plus 300.
Wow.
And that's the main card for the UFC on ESPN Plus.
Wow.
Blue Cross Arena, Rochester, New York.
So that would be betdsi.com?
BetDSI.com or BetDSI.eu.
.eu, and then you put in a promo code Fighters Corner for all that action.
Bet away.
Bet away.
Have fun with it.
Yeah. Anyway, Miguel, always a pleasure, buddy. Thank you. And
thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Always fun.
Absolutely. And, thanks for joining us at the Fighters Corner.